Hi, welcome to the second grade family. I'm Payne and I am the ENL teacher in second grade.
And I'm Mrs. Vaccaro.
And I'm Mr. Alexander, and it's nice to meet everybody.
We've prepared a presentation to go over some of the things that you might already know, to refresh you on that, and also to go a little bit deeper into the things that we'll be learning in the second grade this year.
All right, well, this is our math overview for the year. We spent the first 5 or so weeks at the beginning of the year just reviewing actually first grade curriculum. So we're now in the second grade curriculum and we're using Zearn. So our units are actually called missions. So I'd like to read those to you right now. So this year, your student will be adding and subtracting friendly numbers. We'll explore length. We're going to be focusing on counting and place value. We're going to add and subtract and solve. We're going to move into adding and subtracting big numbers. We're going to take a look at equal groups. We're going to explore length and money and data. And we're going to talk about shapes, time, and fractions. So you can see there's a kind of a big emphasis on place value and adding and subtracting and learning different strategies to do that. So an expectation in the second grade family is we would really like your child to sign into Zearn for at least 20 minutes every day.
Okay, so this is our ELA overview, English Language Arts. So we have the MyView curriculum this year that we're using. That's where their workbooks came from. And each workbook, each unit is broken up by theme. So our first theme, which we're just about at the end of right now, is You Are Here. How do different places affect us? And then pretty soon, in another week, we'll be going into Nature's Wonders, and we'll be looking at patterns that we see in nature. And then we're going to talk about our traditions and what makes a tradition. We'll get into a lot of fairy tales and folk tales in that unit. And then making a difference. Why is it important to connect with other people? And then finally, we're going to come back to Our Incredible Earth. How does the earth change? Which is more about landforms and the earth that we live on. And then this is a breakdown of the standards, the next generation standards. So in reading, some of the things that we'll be teaching to your children this year are about key ideas and details that helps them summarize what they've read. Craft and structure, so looking at the kinds of things that authors put in the books that they write. Making connections, and that can be a connection to something in your life, or it could be a connection to another book that you've read, or something in the world. Showing understanding, which we often say is comprehension. And then fluency is the speed that they read at and the expression that they use when they're reading. And then phonics. And down at the bottom in the box, we've included the sounds that we'll be teaching this year in phonics, because a lot of parents have been asking about the spelling and how much they should be helping with spelling. So just some of the things that we'll touch on. I'm not going to read them all, but contractions, long vowels. We'll be looking at diphthongs, and if you don't know what diphthongs are, I put them in parentheses for you. Words that have OU, OW, OI, OY, and so they'll be comparing a lot of those sounds. Soft C and G. So when C sounds like S and when G sounds like J. And we'll look at things like final syllables. So all those are there for you in case you're wondering what is appropriate for you to help your children with. And then back up at the top, writing. So we'll look at text types and purpose for writing. So who is reading your writing, and making sure that the kids have exposure to different kinds of writing. So Ms. Payne was talking today about persuasive writing. We've also been talking about realistic fiction, and we want the kids to have a chance to write realistic fiction of their own. We'll talk about writing research, comprehension, and working with others. So how do you, in your writing, show understanding of a topic maybe that you've researched, or how do you work with others on maybe a joint project that's a little easier when we're in the classroom. And then presenting ideas and expressing them clearly is always something we're working on. Language, our language standards have to do with conventions of English, things like grammar, punctuation, and spelling. And then, of course, there will be an emphasis on vocabulary, both academic and content vocabulary. And that's a summary of ELA.
And now I'm going to share science and social studies with you. We'll be alternating between the two. So we did about 6 weeks of science, and we're just beginning a social studies unit, and that'll last another 5 or 6 weeks, and then we'll go back to science. What we'll be learning about in science this year, there are 5 units. One is measurement, where students will use scientific tools to measure and collect data. Properties of matter. We will describe and classify matter based on its properties and discuss temporary and permanent changes in matter. Interdependent relationships and ecosystems, and this one focuses on how living and non-living things interact in the environment. How processes shape the earth, this is the one we just did. Students learned about events that change the earth quickly and slowly, and we studied the different land forms and water forms. And the final unit is engineering, and students will be able to define and solve a given problem. In social studies, there are four main themes. The first one being where we live, and this is the one we're beginning right now. Urban, suburban, and rural communities. We'll also be talking about what we live, and that has to do more with government and citizenship. We touch upon democracy and rules and laws, living in a community. When we live is focused on how the communities we've learned about and how our own community changes over time, and how we live. So using the resources in our community to meet the needs and the wants.
All right, so social emotional learning is really, really important to us in the second grade family, and we really work hard to create a family atmosphere. And we do this with daily check-ins with our students during our morning meetings every day. Our social emotional learning topics are also discussed on a weekly basis, and those topics have to do with self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, self-awareness. So again, this is a really key aspect of our day. It's very important to us.
So our learning tools, we just wanted to go over this. We know this is review for a lot of you. A lot of your children are getting really good at maneuvering around to the different places that we ask them to go to. If they're struggling a bit, this is Rock Connect. So everything is accessible through Rock Connect. And the 4 main apps that we use are circled there in red. So we use Raz Kids a lot. We'll give them books that they can read. We'll assign them books at their level. And so Raz Kids is circled. We've been also assigning them some books and games in Realize, which is part of our MyView curriculum that we're following. And there's a lot of good games and books on there. And then, of course, Seesaw, which is where you get our schedule and assignments each day and important messages. And then, of course, CERN is our math app. They can all be accessed through Rock Connect.
Seesaw is our main learning platform, so we wanted to go over that one more time. Your student will have several classes in Seesaw. So to access us, to access our work, you want to make sure they have chosen the second grade family. Everything that they'll need is in that activities tab. If you go to the activities, you'll be able to see their daily schedule and also all of the assignments that we've given them for math, ELA, science, or social studies. And all of the links for all of their classes are there on their daily schedule.
So for us to be successful with our remote learning and get the most out of our time together, we do have some Zoom expectations. Number one is to be on time, and that schedule that Ms. Payne talked about really helps us. Have your supplies ready and ready to go. And number three is to sit in a quiet spot. And that means, somewhere comfortable with no distractions like TV, music, pets, and toys. All those things are a lot of fun. But we ask that you try to have no distractions during our time together. And muting your microphone. We love to hear kids and their voice and their ideas and things like that. But there's a time and a place for that. So we've been talking a lot about having your microphone muted until it's your turn to speak. So.
And then it is very helpful if the kids have their cameras on. We know sometimes there's a lot of movement going on or something in the background and they might have to turn it off for a minute, but it's very helpful to be able to see each other. Raising your hand, and they can actually just raise their hand, or a lot of the kids know how to raise their hand with the little icon that they can click. And then, of course, listening to others. And we've been really impressed with how the kids have been listening to each other. They're doing a great job. Students should be logging on to Zoom using their real names. That's not always happening, but if you could talk to your kids about using their real names, it's part of our safety and security over Zoom. So we ask that students keep these names throughout the entire Zoom.
And if you have any questions about any of this information that we presented or in general, you can call, text, email, or message us on Seesaw anytime. Our email addresses on this final slide. You can see them there at the bottom, but we know that most of you, hopefully all of you, have our cell phone numbers, and you should feel free to use those to call or text us whenever we can and help you with anything. So we would like to thank you for watching, and we're so thankful for all of your support that you've given us so far, and we look forward to continuing this journey this year. So until next time, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.